Hello. Excuse me. Hi, it's Chandra. Today I'm continuing my file organization, or rather data archive structuring and architecture. Uh, I guess 6 days ago, Mem Palace came out, and it's a open source memory to accompany AI. And I saw somebody post about it online, and I had thought up until that point that, like the difference between ChatGPT, Claude AI, and Pi AI were mostly that Claude, you have to constantly create master documents to download and re-upload to get Claude back on board with where you were prior to when you leave. And that ChatGPT seems to be able to keep a collective memory. I thought that all of them did because I refer to things that I've said in previous chats after I've closed everything out, and it seems to kind of pick up on it. I've noticed little bitty glitches and things, but I don't really know much about this stuff. I'm kind of like just bulldozing my way through this. I am working in the terminals with code, and I'm starting to understand what the patterns mean that I'm looking at, but I really don't know what I'm doing. So, excuse me. When I read from this person who owns a tech company about Mem Palace, I was really excited. And I had a conversation with ChatGPT about what the significance and importance of Mem Palace would be for me. And that reiterated that it's not really using memory the way I thought it was, and that it's actually important to have some kind of memory system. I mean, I noticed like as I've been trying to train my conversations to understand that I want the least computation possible. I want the most minimal answers. In terms of climate justice, when you think about the cooling systems for these computers are fresh water, not salinated water. And this is a finite resource, and peoples are already suffering for this. When I use AI, I want to be conscious of things like not saying please and thank you, and constantly confronting it with less response, less response, less response, which getting used to it being a bit brief did change the tone of the conversations. I did wonder, was it being churlish with me? And I think that I'm always kind of wondering if it's going to get irritated at me or say, you have asked me that like 10 times already. Why are you asking me that again? But it doesn't do that. And so I'm finding on some levels that some of my own personal trauma with being neurodivergent, let's just put the word out there, not a fan of it, but some of my personal trauma with having different ways of thinking and having different mental processes come into engaging with AI. But interestingly, AI is helping me heal those because it's a little bit easier to have a conversation with it. Another thing that I'm appreciating about it is one of my sons, possibly both of my sons, are quite confident, bordering on arrogance occasionally. And naturally, there's a lot of built-in insecurity in any form of arrogance. But one of them is very conscious. I guess both of them are I guess I'm also quite conscious of long language change and the implications of words. And I feel a deeper appreciation for my son that I'm working on my website with. I'm feeling a deeper appreciation for his use of language. I'm quite aware of this deeper appreciation that I feel for his use of language. Um, but at different moments, when he's taken outside of the framework of our just daily interactions with one another, the caliber of his intellect and his ability to reason blows my mind. I mean, I gave a workshop a couple of years ago, and my kids are so supportive, always coming to things, inviting their friends to my things because they're proud of me, like I'm proud of them. And at one of these workshops, I know my son was dead tired. He was like a delivery boy and going to school for game design at that time and couch surfing because he didn't really have a stable base. And he was like just struggling with exhaustion. And then all of a sudden he spoke, and his ability to contextualize my work within the framework of Black aesthetic philosophy and discursive arguments throughout the course of philosophical history, Western philosophical history, um, it was breathtaking. And one of the things that I found out later from some of the people who were there was at first off, they didn't know that he was my son, but they knew of him through his engagements in other circles and the work he does. And I mean, I was just like so blown away and proud of, wow, this guy's really smart. But sometimes, kind of like AI and we have confusion in our conversations because of the use of language and syntax. So I've had a couple of conversations with AI over the last couple of days to find out where I am positioned in terms of how am I communicating? How could I communicate better? Like when we've had series of long chain errors, like, just all red in the terminal and just running, like to the point that I had to just like close that terminal window to stop the action because it was writing a book of error code. Um, I asked for, kind of goal clarification. And all of this comes together in learning how to use AI to my advantage. So, learning how to communicate with AI effectively, to not just run around in loops, understanding the limitations of AI, and also understanding the limitations of myself to communicate and realizing I don't know who else to ask how to speak about this. And so just as I have conversations with my sons about how should I talk to you? How do you want me to say something like this to you? How do we communicate this? I have these same kinds of conversations with AI now, and that helps build my iterative skills and to make this communication better. And another way of being cognizant of climate justice and water usage is to use a local backup system such as this that triangulates the three types of AI that I use inside a local memory that's not behind a paywall. So, all that said, I think that I would like to talk first. I guess would goal clarification for step one be the place to go? Or I'm just going to continue in the process that I'm in. We can talk more about that another time. And at the moment, the process that I'm in is I am having a conversation that I can share my screen regarding. Um, what do we import into Mem Palace? Um, hmm, it's going to be a bit laggy, I think. Okay, so um, at this point, we're talking about importing A and B, and this is also an example of how I've cleaned up the communication for brevity. So chat gives me insights that it's responding to, the insights coming from me, and we're talking about adding these previous file organization conversations, which have gone on for about a week now, maybe 10 days. I've used it as part of my staying calm, self-nurturing, and self-development through doing something pivotal, such as creating my data archive for the past 20, 25 years. Um, and so, yeah, I've got all these conversations, full conversations, and key insights, which are AI generated summaries of these. And for example, the reason that I kind of got my panties in a bunch was that when I said I want to integrate the memory of these file organizations into the file organization inbox in Mem Palace. I didn't really like the response I got. It just, it didn't do what I needed. So this is step 37. So in one action, so nano, I can't remember what that means. Inbox, I was going to be creating this master system text. And one of the issues that we've had is, yeah, it's 6 days old. It has some issues. It might always have some issues. And it was a good part of 2 hours of chat and terminal on this MacBook butting heads to figure out how to fix this, and my own involvement of myself noticing my own reflections on the fact that I had saved the file as a text. I had converted the TXT file to uh, plain text, from rich text to plain text, but somehow it was still being read as an RTF. And because of the memory, because of the messages that were being generated inside the Mem Palace terminal and how I was communicating them to chat, I started to realize after we kind of gone running around, it felt like for an hour, I felt like, okay, we got to this point, then we do the next confirmation and it falls apart. I figured there was something going wrong in our communication. I told chat what I thought. Chat said, oh, yeah, that makes sense. Miscommunication. We're talking around one another. And so that was fixed. We got Mem Palace the rest of the way. I don't know if you say installed, because I don't really know what Python is. And we're using code, but there's nothing to download with Mem Palace. It's like you create a folder for it and then you run commands into it or something like this. That's what I'm doing. So when chat Um, when chat, agreed, because I thought the whole point is to keep memory alive and active, that I should bring the files in, it was make this master system TXT doc. So what the insight that it was telling the system was my system must handle large mixed media archives across time. System, flow, raw, extracted, sorted, exports. These are the folders. Media types, images, video, audio, docs, SVG, metadata. Rules, always process through incoming, never sort from zip files, organized by media first, the use consistent naming, year, month, day, description type, use content-based organization with structured flow to test, check if files can be found without remembering project names. Because originally chat was like, do your file sorting via project. And I have had project-based file sorting, and what I've noticed over time is that it's really sprawling, especially with my output for 2025 to 2026, even with this kind of slow period because of dealing with the health crisis and the housing crisis and burnout, um, I still have generated probably 120 gigabytes of archive minimum, possibly 200 or so gigabytes of archive. Um, so the way I engage with my material is completely my choice. But the idea of every time I think about something having to go into the Universal Fairy Tale, or United Colors of NIMBY, or Ziggurat, or Fable type now, or YouTube videos also, it doesn't make sense because all of these are me. And the Universal Fairy Tale is the umbrella under which United Colors of NIMBY, which represents me as an artist individually, as well as me as the artist, creator, and founder of the Universal Fairy Tale, of which the ziggurat was a natural um, outcome, as well as Fable type as a natural outcome. I don't necessarily need to go into the folders to engage with that. Um, I want some other way that is more searchable and more organic than being reliant upon file names all the time. That's been really restrictive, and especially with the output. Oh, the dollhouses. The dollhouses and ginkgo paintings now based on the doll houses, and they're merging with the Universal Fairy Tale. Large, large, large uh, file contents, the SVG for fabrication, and I'm also going to start doing some 3D printing. So files large. Um, and it really might just be more preferable to stick with images, video, audio, docs, SVG, metadata, making sure the metadata is incorporated back into these. This is sort information. So the next thing, having done that, would be we test this inside the terminal with Mem Palace. So let's go back down to where we're going to start now, which is they're going to go folders equal correct unit files. We're not sorting by files. That doesn't work for me. And then this is a moment where you can see that chat and I are not exactly talking to each other the way that we think we are. Because it's asking me about folders as step 42. And I felt like this must have something to do with generating code. But what it's actually trying to find out is what to name folders. And because I've asked it to be brief, it stopped giving me this is because, this is because, this is because. And that led to a little bit of confusion. But from question 43 to 46, we realized what was going on. We dropped the folder creation, and I told it what I wanted is the existing structure. But because it didn't have access to that bit of memory, which hopefully Mem Palace will help us out with, it started from the next logical direction of let's figure out where to sort into. But that's not needed. We've done that. So by step 47, we revised one action. Do not create anything. Identify where images should go in your existing system. We also have a previous thread to go back to where we clean that up because it's not working for us. And then I had a freak out because on my YouTube, video showed up saying that Mem Palace was a fraud, and it was reporting on some 2025 issues. Um, and so I asked Claude, I asked PyAI, and then finally I asked ChatGPT for just kind of like a triangulated view on it. And they all kind of came to the same conclusion, is that no, it's real, runs locally, and I have proof of it because I've successfully used it for storing plus searching memory. I have viable proof. Um, the second point is that the hype over Mem Palace is exaggerated. The claim of 100% benchmark score, mm, but results came from partly hand-tuned. Critics say it was teaching to the test. Real performance is lower, but still decent. Good enough for me. Three, developers are divided from community discussion. Very cool concept, running into errors early. Translation, idea is strong, implementation is rough. What it actually is, accurately framed, is system. This Mem Palace is a local memory database for AI conversations, not magic intelligence, not fully automated, not published software. Why it feels frustrating, the insight, reflecting on insights we've had working together today, Chat and I on it, is I experienced exactly what others report: unclear documentation, version differences, manual workflow, fragile formatting like the RTF to TXT document issue. And that's normal for early stage tools. So the honest conclusion, the decision about chat of if it's fraud or if it's good or bad, is it's a real concept. It's useful, as our engagement with it today has proved it works. It's just not mature and it's overrated. I've dated those people, so no biggie. Most important perspective for me is that I'm not learning Mem Palace. I am building a thinking system, a file system, and a workflow. Mem Palace is just one possible tool layer. And the final question before we kind of get back is, do you want to keep using Mem Palace as your memory layer? And A. And now I've said, let's return to step 47. And one more question about chat and Claude imports. And I need to edit this. Uh, oh, whoops, pressed copy. I actually need to edit. And it's a little laggy because you'll see in a minute. We're working in the terminal. This is an old laptop, doesn't have a ton of memory like the PC, but I can lay in bed with this one, and that's what I did. This whole journey with Ben Palace was me not being able to sleep last night, just staying up and working. So, what is going on here? I asked to edit this. This is what I mean by laggy. Machine is working. Let's give it some juice. See if that soothes its soul a little bit. Also need to organize my. Oh, don't be like that. See this here in the background? This is our culprit. This is M Palace. Come on. I don't know what else I can do other than not be recording on Zoom. Oh. But because this is in my OneDrive, I can access it from anywhere. Boy, vey. This is no good. Let me stop the share for a second and see if that releases a little bit of juice so I can ask a question. And return to Claude imports. Okay, come on, give me that cursor so I can write. Mm, mm. Okay, we're going to pause here for. No, okay, let's see. Do I need to download these file organization conversations to import into Mem Palace? And the prompts for creating the TXT docs for this. Oh, okay. And because this is a what is it, MacBook Air, it doesn't have any, it doesn't have a port for, let's see, maybe it does, just don't know about it. No, I can't put the LAN cable in. I mean, like, this is definitely a machine designed for people who spend their days in cafes on laptops. Ugh, judging. Okay, on to the next video, and let's see what can be done about this. Oh, I don't want to give up. Says the Taurus rising. The Aries sun. I don't know. You don't like dedicated people. Not my problem. My fans working hard too. Dun, dun, dun. Dun, dun, dun. Da, 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 da. Da, 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 da.